The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heartthrob in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly podcast coming to you January 11th, 2024. It is the second podcast of the day, and it's a familiar face here. Well, I realized something before we got on the air, Jordan, that you apparently the last two appearances you come on the podcast have been around the same exact time in January of each year.
That's bizarre. That's bizarre. And that's not by design either.
No, it's not. But we gotta change that. I don't like that. Once a year, we gotta stop that trash. That's stop.
Yeah. Well, I want to say the reason it's been January is because Elvis's birthday's in January. We always talk Elvis. Lisa Marie passed away in January. And Kobe Bryant passed away in January. That's the reason why we always come up in January. There's a lot going on. Plus, we always talk NFL playoffs.
Yeah, of course.
So
we're joined here, of course, by Jordan Buscarini, the host of the Drive Time Sports, KOAL 107.3 in Price, Utah. A friend of the show for a very long time. Jordan, how's your new year going so far?
It's going great. Busy time. A lot of traveling for work around this time of the year. You know all about that, man. It's busy. It's great.
You do play, especially too, so you're a busy guy.
3 schools this year.
Well, you're watching on video on the YouTube page at youtube.com/Ernest Christian. You were in that nice little Notre Dame sweater there. Great season this year. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough question. So you go back at the beginning of the year. I felt very good about where they were heading. Marcus Freeman, complete botch job against Ohio State, rolling 10 men out on the field twice, gave that game away. DJ Brown drops an interception. Those kind of things happen, I guess. Talk about the dropped interception. That's 10 men on the field. The only game this season where Notre Dame was brutally beaten was Louisville.
Yeah.
Should have beat Clemson. Should have beat Ohio State.
Yes.
So, yeah, they just lost to Louisville. They got beat up in that game. Wasn't really excited about Jared Parker and his offensive play calling. Obviously, that's been fixed now with Mike Denbrock coming. That was an outstanding hire. I feel really good about the program. If I had to rate the season, I'd give Notre Dame, give them a B minus. Past season, I give them a B minus. I think the off season though has gone very, very well for Notre Dame, and I think that the expectations next season extremely high, especially when you look at the way that Marcus Freeman has used the transfer portal. I think you look at his guys. I mean, this is now his program. It's got his fingerprints all over it. I feel good about where they are heading in 2024.
And especially the 12-team playoff coming in too, especially not more room to get to the playoff. You got to get in, try to get in. I will say that this year though, watching the season, but which one I love. This is one of my favorite seasons of all time. After Washington, probably the toughest schedule in college football this year, Notre Dame.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it was a gauntlet there for a while. Duke was really good. Duke was great. You just go back through that stretch. I mean, you had Ohio State, you had Duke, you had Louisville. I think that I will say the biggest disappointment, and I think Notre Dame fans would agree, Sam Hartman was a disappointment.
Yeah, that's the feedback I get from a lot of Notre Dame fans I know.
Yeah, he was a disappointment. But other than that, no, there's growing pains. I think you're seeing Marcus Freeman kind of come into his own. I like the fact that you mentioned the 12-team playoff. Because, and I've had this conversation with a lot of Notre Dame fans. Under the new format now, I believe it's going to be a 5-7 model because we don't have a Power 5 anymore with the Pac-12 going away. Okay, so you're going to use the 5-7 model, which means the top 4 highest-ranked conference champs are going to get a bye. Well, Notre Dame can't get a bye. You know what? Notre Dame gets a bye with the conference championship week. They get a bye every year. Right. Notre Dame could be the 8th seed. They get a bye. They don't have to play conference championship week. And they're going to get a home playoff game. More than likely, they'll get home playoff games. Nobody wants to go to South Bend in December.
Hell no.
Nobody wants to.
Hell no.
Right? So they have a distinct advantage, I think, in this new playoff format. I like it. I like the way it sets up for Notre Dame. I really do.
Now, that being said, you like stuff for Notre Dame. Do you like the playoff format coming up in general?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was a fan of the BCS. I know a lot of people weren't, but I thought the BCS got it right more times than not.
Yes.
I was fine with the BCS. I do believe, you know me, I'm a traditionalist. I love bowl games. I still love bowl games. Bowl season stunk this year. It was awful. Could we play the bowl games and then go into a 4-team tournament? I would be up for that. I don't know. It's such the college football realm in general is so weird right now. The idea of getting, the idea of Liberty being in the playoffs this year doesn't sit well with me. That just doesn't sit well. Look what Oregon did to Liberty.
Yeah.
Right? That was after opt-outs. I know Bo Nix played in that game, but that was after opt-outs. Are we going to have I guess the biggest misconception is people believe we're going to have the 12 best teams in the college football playoff. And I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen. Liberty would have knocked out the number 12 team in the playoffs this year. So no, we're not getting the top 12. I do believe that college football is in an era with massive parity right now. And I think we saw that. Mm-hmm. You and I shared the exact same belief on what happened with Florida State. It was wrong.
Yes.
It was awful. And we could spend, I think it's old news by this point, but we could spend a week talking about what happened. The fact that we had the best 4-team playoff that we have ever had does not negate the fact that your Florida State Seminoles were absolutely robbed of getting the college football playoff.
And that was my point. It was never about believing that they were 4 best teams in college football, because I believe they weren't best 4 teams in college football. But the fact of the matter is, the anomaly was they were unbeaten. They should have had the right to defend the fact that they were 13-0 coming into that week. Bottom line, we agree. But is this one of those things where and then of course this is when you and I really start talking about this part of the podcast, weeks ago, about the idea. Oh well, Georgia 63-3. Tell me you don't watch college football. Tell me you don't watch college football. They literally had 25, 26 players that didn't play a game that was on the roster.
Correct.
14 of them were starters.
Correct.
Stop.
Yeah. Not even close to being the same thing. And if we're gonna go down this rabbit hole, I'm just gonna be honest. I felt like there was, to me, it just reeked of corruption. Is what
of course
it reeked is just absolute total corruption, where you have ESPN, and we could talk about the ACC network, we could talk about the SEC network. You go back and you do the math. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like $740 million is what was distributed to the 14 SEC schools. We know that the SEC network, and that's not just all based off the SEC network, I understand that, but we know the SEC is completely different than the ACC. It's a different realm, right? I understand that ESPN has $1 billion contract with the college football playoffs. Yes, Alabama is going to generate you dollars, okay? But to the same topic, okay? And to me, this is a very comparable situation. What would the outrage have been last year in the NBA Finals if Adam Silver would have said, well, we know that the Denver Nuggets swept the Lakers, but we believe the Lakers are one of the top 2 teams in the NBA. We're going to put them in the finals.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
To me, that's essentially what went down.
Yeah.
And it's awful. Well, we're not going to have to deal with that anymore.
I will say the one thing, look, it'll never clear up the chaos necessarily, because all the chaos does is it gets moved to the middle of the pack.
Correct.
What I will say, though, what this 12-team playoff does, it clears the chaos at the top. Because at the very least, if that thing existed this year already, the 12-team playoff existed, Florida State gets in no matter what. Correct. They get in, maybe not as a 4 seed, and we complain about that, but at least complaint would be, well, they're going to get in no matter what. They'll get in the playoffs at 5 or 6, whatever, but at least they're getting in.
Yeah, maybe it takes away. Well, you know what? I don't think it takes away from conference championship games, because you just go back and you look at some of the conference championship games that we had. I mean, it comes with potentially a first-round bye now if you win your conference championship.
Yes.
So there would have been a lot at stake in the Louisville-Florida State game, obviously. We're talking about, boy, if Florida State loses this game, did they drop out? They drop out of the top 12. Louisville, maybe they get a bye. Maybe they get a first-round bye. So I think it does add a lot to championship weekend. I guess now the biggest question is, how do we fix the tradition with bowl games? And there's got to be a way in college football that you can keep these traditions alive. And I've thought a lot about this, EJ. I don't know the answer to it. I don't know what you do. One of the things that maybe we play bowl games week 0. How do you determine who goes to those bowl games? I don't know.
I just think that if you talk about bowl games in general, make them more something worth watching. I think between NIL and players knowing their value and opting out to go to the draft, I think it's almost unfixable at this point now. And I can't blame the players to think about themselves first, honestly. I really can't, because we've seen examples of players who have taken the risk of playing bowl games that really in retrospect don't matter, and they get hurt, and then their draft stock is hurt as a result. So I get that.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, though.
Go ahead.
In today's realm of athletes being paid, college athletes being paid,
correct,
NIL changes the game, right? Completely.
Absolutely.
Okay. Should it not be the obligation of a player to play in a even meaningless game if you are being paid to play?
I would argue yes. I would argue that this should be, because you actually making money on that. But again, how many players are in that spot where they? I mean, you're looking at 1 or 2 players out of 70, 80 players on a roster. I get what you're saying. I know, to your point, on principle, I agree with you. On principle, but
now the bowl games are going to be even more meaningless.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing now.
To be honest, but I haven't watched bowl games honestly in years. To me, once players start opting out, why waste your time?
Yeah, I guess I'm just a sucker for tradition. Maybe I'm only 37, but maybe I am that guy that stands on his lawn and tells people to get off.
Guys, he is 37 years old. He looks like he's fucking 19. Trust me. He's 37.
37 years old. I listen to Elvis. I love boxing. I play pinball. Yeah, I'm like an 80-year-old guy, man.
You're sometimes ornery.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Speaking of ornery, your Lakers.
Whew.
What, 17, 18? That's when that's recording? 18, 19?
19 and 19.
19, yeah. Is the Darvin Ham stuff too simple? Like, Darvin Ham is to blame? I mean, almost out of nowhere? Is that too simple? Is that legit?
Well, I think it's legit, but I think here's the thing. I think two things can be right. I think we get stuck in this realm where it's got to be black or white, and you got to understand there's a gray area. So we can look at the fact that Darvin Ham's not the right guy for this job. Yes, there's legitimate concern there. And you can also look at the roster construction and say, maybe it's not that great. I know a lot of us definitely applauded what Rob Pelinka was able to do in the offseason. He managed to get Austin Reeves at a much cheaper price than I think a lot of people anticipated. He brought back Rui Hachimura. I thought Rui earned every bit of that contract, specifically what he did in the postseason. But then you look at some of the missteps. Okay, Gabe Vincent has been Kendrick Nunn 2.0.
Yeah. And in a comparison, those two, they're both guys from Miami.
Correct. Right. And you know what makes I know that there's been some talk about this week. It's kind of brought light to this situation. What makes the Gabe Vincent deal even worse is the fact that Dennis Schroeder has played very well in Toronto.
Yes.
It's a comparable contract. You throw that into the equation. But no, I think you can look at it from both perspectives. Is it all Darvin Ham? No. Is he a part of the problem? Absolutely. Just watch Laker basketball. There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of things that are happening as far as there was going to be a minute restriction for LeBron. He's averaging 35 minutes a game right now.
Is that LeBron's fault or Darvin's fault? Because, I mean, Darvin's a coach, but LeBron also has to say.
It's team's fault. LeBron has to right now. Right. The idea of bringing this team back together and having roster continuity was to be able to limit these minutes. And the Anthony Davis slander needs to stop, by the way, because he's been phenomenal. Without Anthony Davis, this team they got 10 wins right now without Anthony.
That's the sad part, though. He's actually playing games and they're still 500.
Correct.
That's the sad part.
Yeah, there's issues there.
In a wide open Western Conference.
And they can't, it goes back to they don't have shooters.
Which begs the question now. I'm bringing on the screen in about a couple seconds here. In your opinion, Jordan Buscarini, who is right now? Because to me, standings aside, it's clear that Denver's number 1 when it's all said and done. Okay, but number 2 in the West is, in my opinion, wide open. I mean, not standings wise. I'm talking about just in general narratives and who I see playing them in the conference finals. It's wide open. Could be the Wolves, could be the Thunder, could be the Clippers that was on fire. Lakers get together, they can be in there. Phoenix, who knows? Who is, in your opinion, right now, through 3 months, the second best team in the Western Conference?
So we agree Denver's 1, right?
Right.
Yeah, we agree. You got the greatest player in the world right now.
Yes.
Denver's 1. I'd probably say Minnesota. I like OKC. I think they're about a year ahead. And let's give Tyronn Lue a lot of credit, because there were a lot of jokes when the Clippers landed James Harden. There are a lot of jokes, and we thought this had the ingredients to be a disaster, and it has not been a disaster.
Yeah.
I think Tyronn Lue has done a phenomenal job with the Clippers, and I think that's a team that could definitely make some noise. But to me, in the Western Conference right now, it's the Denver Nuggets and everyone else, and in the Eastern Conference, it's the Boston Celtics and everyone else. When I look at roster construction, there is no one even close to Boston in my mind.
Oh, no. Yeah.
The next month, EJ, when we start going into the trade deadline over the next month, everyone, including the Denver Nuggets, are trying to catch what Boston has right now. There's
Agreed.
Cream of the crop in the NBA, hands down.
I feel like the one thing about Boston that frustrates me with the Celtics, I'm not a Celtics fan, obviously. I can't stand them. But is that as good as the team is, I still haven't seen the next level for Jason Tatum. The next level. Like, I feel like he's a top 10 player. He should be a top 5, maybe a top 3 player in the league, but he's not because I feel like there's something missing. That dog. There's that. You know?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. We bring James Hollis. I know you know James.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, we bring, he's phenomenal, by the way.
Yes.
We bring James on the show weekly to talk NBA basketball, and James is a big Celtics fan, and his biggest drawback has been, okay, do we have the dog, right? Paraphrasing, but I mean, he wants to know, okay, it looks great on paper, but do we have it when they get to the postseason? And I do believe that that's a fair concern. However, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to take the most talented team, and that's Boston. And I think they're deeper. I think the construction is beautiful, right? So being a Laker fan, I think if you're a Laker fan out there, it's going to pain you, but you just got to get a heavy dose of reality. Let's stack the 2 rosters up.
Yeah.
The LeBron era in LA has not been great, EJ. It hasn't.
You ready to get out of it, aren't you?
I'm ready. I'm ready to get out of it. I am. It to me, because again, we had this conversation on my show last week. How many coaches LeBron have been fired under LeBron James?
So we have Mike. Well, Mike Brown was technically fired under him because technically Mike Brown did get fired before he left to Miami.
They did. Blatt was fired.
Blatt was fired. Who's the first coach he had in LA? Luke Walton.
Luke Walton was fired.
And then someone else recently. Vogel was fired after winning the title, for the record. And
Darvin Ham, it's to me, he's on borrowed time. There's been
wait. You think Darvin Ham's actually could be fired as soon as this year?
Yes, absolutely.
Really? Wow.
I believe so because the urgency to win is so great when you have a 39-year-old LeBron James, right?
Right.
Like the urgency, you have to win now. But I do want to give the Heat props because we talked about 2 stints of LeBron in Cleveland. Talk about a stint in LA. And people maybe don't remember this, but remember when the Heat first started, when they first had the big 3, and it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine. Remember,
9-8 start, 9-8 bump gate,
and there was rumblings of the team not meshing with Spoelstra. You remember this?
It was clear as day.
There was one exec who flat out told him, "You guys can go to hell. This guy's not going anywhere."
Yep.
That guy is still coaching in Miami. So I hate the term heat culture, but listen, there is not a better example of heat culture than that right there.
Yep.
There's not a better example of it.
I did a thing over the summer on the podcast about like how, look, I understand why LeBron left Miami to go to Cleveland. I totally get it.
Sure.
But I felt like he cheated himself from a basketball perspective, out of probably more rings and stability in Miami.
That's a fair argument. I think that the idea of stability kind of went out the door at that point in time because then we started seeing this in cycles. What was he? 4 years in Miami, right?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, 4 years in Miami. So, and I've been telling Laker fans this a lot. If you think LeBron's going to retire a Laker, why? What makes you think this? What makes you think that LeBron is going to be loyal to the Laker organization? I'd like to know. To me, it's not the Laker organization. It's his family life, right?
Right.
I mean, you know this as well as anyone. You change, your needs change, your desires change as you grow a family, right? Your family's needs now become your top priority. I think his family's comfortable in LA. To me, that's not loyalty to the Laker organization. And if he wants to play with Bronny, he's going to go play with Bronny. So this idea that LeBron is going to retire a Laker, me personally, I don't care one way or the other if he does or not. But I also don't think it's the end of the world. And I'm not going to hold myself to this idea that LeBron is going to have number 23 up in the rafters at Staples, which I believe he will. Do I believe he deserves to? Yeah, I do. I mean, he's accomplished a lot individually, but I do believe the overall time frame in LA has been a failure because you brought LeBron James to the most illustrious franchise in professional sports in North America.
Correct.
And we have one championship to show for it
In the bubble.
Which I think was difficult.
No. I'm with you.
I give him full credit. For winning in the bubble. But again, the idea, bringing a guy that is just so polarizing. We're talking about the first billionaire athlete in the NBA, right?
Mhm.
I mean, this is one of the greatest of all time. I don't want to get into where people rank him. I don't really care where you
Boring. I know. Boring.
Stupid. I don't care. He's one of the greatest to ever play this game. And you brought him to this market, and you have produced one championship with a guy in Anthony Davis who, in my mind is I don't think there's really a debate. Anthony Davis is a top 7 guy in the league right now. I don't think
when healthy, absolutely.
Yeah. And I also think that the front office has bumbled a few things. We go back to the season where the Lakers were looking to repeat. Anthony Davis doesn't go down. It's probably a gentleman's sweep against Phoenix. They had complete control of that series until AD went down.
Yeah.
And then we just saw a huge roster changeover after that particular series. So I think the front office has really fumbled the LeBron situation. And I don't know how much LeBron is to blame for that. I don't think anyone really does.
It's
a legitimate conversation.
Right. But is there a desire, though, on the Lakers' end, on Jeannie Buss's end, for example, to exit stage right of the LeBron era? Is there a desire for that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. He's still selling tickets at the end of the day. And
I took my, it's funny. I took my daughter out. She just wanted to see LeBron play. I've tried to take her to see LeBron play a few times. He's been out every time I've taken her.
Are you sure? Oh man, that sucks. It's frustrating as shit.
So I take her back to LA. I was like, okay, we're gonna go early season game.
Yeah.
Most of the time I don't go to games as a fan. Like, it's rare for me to go to games as a fan anymore. I'm past that era, past that stage of my life. So now it's for my daughter. So we go early season, LeBron plays, he comes running out. And I mean, she is just elated to get to watch LeBron play. Mm-hmm. All right. If it makes her happy, sure, sign him up, give him another 5-year deal. Me personally, I don't care, EJ.
Yeah, I'm with you. Staying one more NBA topic. The Warriors dynasty is over.
It's over and done with.
These things never end well.
They don't see. Well, no, I mean, the Bill Belichick era came to a close today in New England.
Hello, Nick Saban. I mean, yesterday.
Yeah, but Saban was able to. I feel like Saban went on his own terms.
Yes.
Yeah, now we know that Bill Belichick did not go on his own terms because he still wants to coach.
Right.
And I'm starting to wonder if Steve Kerr is going to end on his own terms. I don't think he does. I don't think this is the last job that we see from Steve Kerr. I don't. So, yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I want to see how this team rather responds when Draymond comes back, because this has the potential to work in their favor, but it could also work to their detriment very, very heavily, right? So let's see what happens with Draymond Green coming back. Then I think we can tell the story. By the time we hit mid-February, we're going to know, turn the page or not. And I think the page is turned. I really do.
No, I do think that John Morant season-ending injury helped them, because that was the one team that could have taken that play-in spot from them. I was convinced that Ja was playing so well, and the Grizzlies were playing so well when he came back, that with the struggles they were going through, that they could have came in taking that one of those 4 spots in the play-in, because they're not getting the playoffs. They're nowhere on level of the 16th in the playoffs currently, and they're barely on level of the play-in teams now as is. And Memphis was playing at a point where had Ja stayed healthy, they probably could have gotten them out of the playing situation too, with all the unrest going on in Golden State.
The only thing I'll say is, if you get into the play-in round with a guy like Steph Curry, you have a chance to get into the playoffs.
Of course, yes. But I just think all the parts around him are just too volatile. There's too much infighting going on. There's too much. The Draymond stuff is up and down. Clay's not playing well. The young pieces aren't playing well. Andrew Wiggins, ever since the finals, where has he gone? I just saw a report came in today that an hour ago on my phone that every player not named Steph Curry is available for trade.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe. Well, and I think that there's been, maybe it's hard for us to accept turning the page, because look, San Antonio's dynasty has been done for a while. Greg Popovich is still there, giving us worthy moments, right? Yeah. But he's still there. The whole Bob Myers thing, I think should have been an eye opener for anyone.
I called that last year. I called it when it happened. I said, listen, he knows something. He's not an idiot.
Right.
He knows something.
Right.
And we'll see it play out in front of our very eyes. These things don't end well, man. But we'll see how that goes. All right, football talk. You're a big Rams fan.
Yes.
In the playoffs.
Yes.
In the playoffs, 6th seed. I already said it on record. They are the most dangerous team in the conference, in my opinion. I could see them winning multiple playoff games. In fact, I already picked them to win against Detroit on Sunday. And I think they're the one team, I believe, because of familiarity, that could be San Francisco if hypothetically plays out in second round of playoffs. How you feel with the Rams?
I feel great about the Rams. At the beginning of the season, there were a lot of people. Was this just me being a Ram fan, or did it seem like a lot of pundits were picking this team to win 3 or 4 games, be one of the worst teams in the NFC?
So there's a lot of that because of last year. But see, they were the hard preseason wise. There was 7.5 over under. I my last episode I just recorded like an hour ago. I reviewed my over unders, and I did very mid this year. But the Rams had over because I said if Stafford's healthy, you still got to figure pencil in at least 8+ there because Stafford's healthy. Right. But again, there's a lot of unknowns. That's why we didn't know where this team's going to be because there's a lot of unknowns. They got rid of a lot of players last year off the Super Bowl team. But you have the quarterback, you got Aaron Donald, you still got Cooper Kupp who's healthy. You can still win 8 games there and then figure it out from that point on.
Well, it's a quarterback coach league.
Yes.
Right. So I projected at the beginning of the year the Rams would win 8 to 9 games.
Right.
I'm like, okay, if you're winning 8 to 9 games, you're in the playoff conversation.
Yes.
Going into week 16, 17, 18. And I think that's all you can ask for a team that was this young. The secondary is going to be the biggest problem. I think the signing of John Johnson, I think, has helped bringing in a veteran who didn't get a ton of playing time at the beginning of the year, but is now filled in nicely. This is a completely different team when Kyren Williams is out on the field. Completely different team. By the way, I don't know if you're aware of the stat. There's only been 2 players in the history of the NFL that have missed 5 or more games and finished inside the top 5 in rushing yards. Were you aware of the stat?
No.
It's only happened twice. Kyren Williams and Barry Sanders.
Wow, that's a good company.
That's pretty elite company, right?
Yeah.
And Kyren Williams is the only player to finish inside the top 3, missing 5 games or more in rushing yards. So they're a different team when he's out on the field. But the reason why I did not give up hope on the Rams is because Sean McVay is one, if not the best coach in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And when you have a healthy quarterback like Matt Stafford, who can still take the top off of a defense,
absolutely,
you have play action, right? That's what you have now. You kind of retooled that offensive line a little bit. They hit gold with Avila in the second round, grabbing him. I think it was like pick 34, 36. I can't even remember now. But they hit gold there. They did some retooling. Kyren Williams hit. Puka Nacua has just been outstanding. And I know people in Utah were really excited when Puka went to LA based off of the fact that he gets to play with Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, and Sean McVay. It's worked out. And so I thought that the Rams could be a team that could make some noise. Did I see them being this dangerous going into the postseason? I did not. No, I did not. And I agree with you. I think they do beat Detroit on Sunday night. And, I know this is recorded, so we're going to have the receipts to it, right? But I don't know that anyone knows Jared Goff better than Sean McVay. And that is going to play a factor on Sunday night.
And Jared Goff also limping in with Laporta, the tight end, who's going to be out for this game. That's a huge injury. It's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. And what is Detroit very bad at? They are very bad at defending the pass.
Yeah.
And I think that Stafford could go off in this game. And I think, the only thing that would worry me in this game, being a Ram fan, if Detroit was to establish an early 10-0 lead.
Yeah.
Rams have to play from behind. You might be in a little bit of trouble. But this is a team that can control the line of scrimmage. They can run the ball effectively. And I think that that's dangerous. I think I think going back over the years that you and I have talked, it seems like every time you and I talk the playoffs, we look at a team that can run the ball effectively, and that's the team that we're scared of, right? Like the Titans held that title for a long time, right? So that's where I'm at with the Rams. Yeah, I do believe they win on Sunday. Do they get to the NFC Championship game? Probably not. I think that the 49ers are a superior team, and I don't see Green Bay beating Dallas, so that means a trip to San Francisco would be next. Although if I'm a 49er fan, I'm not happy about having to play a McVay-Stafford team in the divisional round. I'm not at any point in time.
Because if anything, familiarity is a advantage.
Sure, absolutely.
If anything.
It's an advantage for the team that's not as good.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
You don't want to play a team 3 times.
So that being said, what's your... I guess you're going to put on record once you go ahead and do it. Who's your picks to go to the Super Bowl?
I'm taking Buffalo out of the AFC.
You are. You trust that narcotic. Okay.
I do. 3 weeks ago when Buffalo was on the outside looking in, I said, nobody wants to play this team. Because, again, they're running the ball effectively, right? We've seen this. I think Joe Brady's fixed a lot in Buffalo.
Oh, absolutely. Without question.
Yeah, so I like the Bills. I really do. I would expect a Buffalo-Baltimore AFC championship, and I'm there for it, man. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fantastic matchup. And in the NFC, I for some reason, there's something about this Cowboys team. I don't know what it is. There's something about this Cowboys team that I've kind of been stuck on all season long.
Mm-hmm.
They have found multiple ways to win games throughout this season, and that sticks out a lot. But one other note, and this is the downfall of the Rams, right? And if the Rams lose on Sunday, I'm going to tell you why the Rams lose on Sunday. They lose because of special teams.
Yeah.
If they lose this game Sunday, it's because of special teams. You don't have to worry about special teams with Dallas. Brendan Aubrey's been incredible, right? And so I'm hesitant to pick Dallas to come out of the NFC. I think the NFC is kind of a crapshoot. Outside of the 49ers being the odds-on favorite. Yeah, let me go Buffalo, San Francisco. Didn't Chris Berman pick the Bills and the 49ers like every year for a decade or something?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm going to go
ahead. And then with the Eagles for a little while, too, every year. What's wrong with him? No, Dallas was my preseason pick to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC.
There's something about him, EJ. And Dan Quinn has done a phenomenal job. By the way, let me throw another prediction out there. I don't think that this is a shot in the dark. Dan Quinn's going to be the next head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think him and Mike Vrabel.
Okay, Vrabel should go to New England.
I agree with you, but
that's where Vrabel
should go. Yeah.
But Dan Quinn's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
He has been so good. A San Francisco and Dallas NFC championship, but then again, here's the problem. That's what should happen. But when you pick chalk 1 versus 2, it rarely works out that way.
No, I will say there's more chaos on the AFC side. I'm more sure of the NFC side. I'm more sure of San Fran winning the NFC. AFC, a little more shakier because, yes, the Chiefs are a little weird, but that dude Mahomes is still a bad dude. And if at any point the receivers decided to remember they play football and they get paid for it and they learn to catch a football, they do that. They are easily back in the conversation as the best team in the conference.
Yeah,
just that simple because the defense is elite.
I was talking to a Chiefs fan this week, and I said, let's not forget you could have had D-Hop, and you could have drafted Puka.
Yep. Well, guess what? D-Hop, I imagine that the Tennessee Titans, cleaning house, are going to try to trade him away, and I'm sure now the Chiefs will be prioritizing a receiver this offseason, definitely. So, but the AFC to me is a little more chaotic. Like Baltimore, obviously the favorites and should be. And I love the Lamar story. He deserves to be MVP.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And I honestly, other than the Dolphins, I want Lamar to win a Super Bowl.
I love Jackson.
Right, but I just don't know if, like I said, if KC figures it out, if but you said Buffalo is starting to get better. You have other teams like that. Cleveland's dangerous as hell because what they do travels well.
It does
in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So there's a little more chaos in the AFC. Like, I mean, my prediction was Cincinnati, but they're gone, obviously. Burrow's gone, all that. I mean, I want to say Baltimore, but I'm not confident in Baltimore in the AFC necessarily.
It's tough. I'm a huge Lamar Jackson guy. In my mind, I can't think of a better college quarterback that I have seen in my lifetime than Lamar Jackson. I've been a big fan of Lamar since he was back at Louisville. I love the Huddle Up podcast. I got to ask you guys, did anyone pick Cleveland, Houston in the first round of the playoffs?
No. No. And that game might be pretty cool, actually.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for that game.
Yeah. No. I'm still going to lean Kansas City. I know. Don't ask why. I'm going to put the ball in Mahomes' hands, and we'll run with that. Okay. I'll tell you what, though. If for some reason this guy wins another Super Bowl with this fucking team, how bad they were this year, we can start putting the GOAT conversation into place now.
No, 100%. 100%. And you know how I refer to Sean McVay as being the best coach in the NFL? Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl with this team. He's the best coach in the NFL.
NFL. We're probably talking about him in the conversation on Mount Rushmore. Possibly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's that. One more thing before I get you out of here.
Yeah.
It was a topic we kind of just skated around a little bit. And I said I want to discuss on the podcast. Aaron Rodgers.
You got to do me like this, huh? You got to.
No, I mean, it's just one of those things where, he's dude. I look, I said in the podcast last week, I'll say it again. Whether I agree or disagree with what he says, I admire independent thought. I do, and I like people who are, even if I disagree with you, make me think a little bit.
Sure.
You know, I don't find people say, "Oh, he's harmful." I don't find Aaron Rodgers harmful whatsoever. I think the dude's harmless. He's just asking questions. He's just saying certain things, and that's okay. You can disagree with him, and you hate it, no big deal. But to me, I will say the heel turn here in the last couple of years has been kind of weird, though. I will say.
Well, I think while he's been you talk about the heel turn. You're a wrestling guy, right? So okay, so I'm going to flip this on you. Give me a comp. Give me a comp here, because while it's a heel turn, I think for public perception to the mass, he's also now very endearing to another demographic of listeners and fans out there, right? Who would he be? Like, you're going to flip heel turn because
this is easy for a current guy. Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns.
Okay. I do know who Roman Reigns. I don't know anything about wrestling, by the way.
Right, I know.
I want to make sure your listeners know that I don't know anything about wrestling.
You're old school guy. That's it.
Yeah. So while he's flipped, it has been a heel turn in the same sense. I think there are a lot of people that all of a sudden are on the Aaron Rodgers bandwagon that weren't necessarily 2 years ago. And I think it's politically driven, 100%, right?
Well, it's funny. It's funny because like he's not even a conservative. Like he's literally he's very left on his beliefs. That's the funny thing. People, anti-vax. This dude, if you know Aaron Rodgers and know things he said, he's very left politically.
Which I think speaks volumes to where we are at for just looking at the headline and moving forward on things.
Right.
Which, by the way, the Jimmy Kimmel thing. He did not say that Jimmy Kimmel was on the list. He did not say that, EJ.
Yeah, I know that. He said that he didn't want it to be seen.
And I have my own personal views of Jimmy Kimmel. I know you do as well.
I already said on the podcast last week. He's not funny.
No.
He's not funny.
No.
He sucks. Never liked him.
No. So, to me, the whole thing, it's kind of a disaster for ESPN, isn't it?
Why? Oh, from the Pat McAfee angle of it?
From the McAfee angle to the Rodgers angle to the Kimmel. I mean,
well, here's the thing.
Now you have Stephen A. Smith talking about it on his podcast. I
think it's fine. I think ESPN needs to lean into this thing and be okay with it, because the more you try to squash independent thought and this and that, you alienate others and all that. I think it's lean into it. Who gives a shit? And only that, ESPN needs Pat McAfee more than they'll be around.
Well, ESPN needs McAfee more than McAfee needs ESPN.
That's what I'm saying. Right.
100%. So, but as far as Disney in general wanting to promote independent thought, when in the hell have they done that over the last 5 or 6 years? EJ?
Yeah. They've squashed that shit down to a science.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Without question. And again, is it political? Probably. Yeah, most likely. Yeah. But, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, it didn't bother me, dude. Like people made a big deal. People at Mad McAfee go like, oh, you're giving a platform. Because stop. Like, please. Like, let's cut the bullshit, bro. So, anyway, that was great. I know we normally go a little longer than this normally, but, I got to go pick up my kids from school. Plug away with no plug. Another time I'm back on very soon. I actually would like to have one here every couple of weeks now on a rotation cycle.
Yeah, anytime you want.
Honestly,
anytime you want. I'm there. I know we got to get you back on Drive Time Sports as well. I think it's the perfect time with football season rolling around. Mm-hmm. We're on Monday through Friday. We begin at 4 o'clock, 107.3 FM, 7:50 AM, Eastern Utah. You can also stream the show live any day with a mobile app, Castle Country Radio mobile app, or online at castlecountryradio.com. You can also listen to the show on demand. And so, we talk sports. That's what we talk.
So you do got a podcast now?
Yes, we do. It's on demand.
It took you years to get your shit on podcast.
I am an old head. How many times?
Crotchety, ornery Buscarini.
That's what having 2 daughters will do to you, man. That's what having 2 daughters will do to you.
Yeah, I don't blame you, brother. Jordan, good job. We'll have you back in a couple weeks, I promise.
Can't wait. Thank you, EJ.
Good job. Bye.